but also his rekindled friendship with two guys you know awfully well, the Young Bucks.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Quick update on John's shoulder. I thought it was the other one.
Yeah, well, now this one hurts.
Okay, anyway, we think probably 4 to 6 weeks with some vitamins, prayers, and probably a lot of Southwestern egg rolls. And speaking of egg rolls, I'm going to go get some. Y'all want some?
There we go. That wasn't my question.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of Too Sweet Elite with your boy, All Elite Andrew, and Big Match AJ. How's everybody doing? Wait, AJ?
Too Sweet Elite with Andrew and AJ. Presented by the AEP.
There we go. AJ, how you doing?
You're slipping, bro.
Yeah,
you're slipping.
I'm slacking. It's a 420 episode, brother. What can
yeah,
you
you're right.
How
You're right. You're right. It's the 420 episode, and so I'm doing great for reasons we will not say.
Oh, I mean, they could put 2 and 2 together, brother. If it's the
well, yeah, but I don't have to say it.
AJ's feeling great. He's feeling good. I'm glad everybody's feeling good today. We're here to talk some AEW, some Dynamite, some upcoming Dynamite, and a lot of other interesting stuff. But before we get into that, you got anything cool you want to talk about outside of the 420 festivities, my good friend?
Nothing cool. Something like kind of like lame, but also good in a way. I'm moved my movie back to December, so I'm gonna shoot in December. So y'all gotta wait longer. Sorry.
No, that's cool. I mean, sometimes you got to take the time to do something like that. You know what I mean? I've learned that with the creative process a couple of different times, that it's nice or smart sometimes just to take a step back and be like, hey, this isn't coming together exactly how I thought. Let me not rush it. Let me make sure it comes out good. There's been a couple of artists that I've worked with and stuff like that I've seen do the same type of thing. So I'm glad to see you take the smart approach with something like that. It definitely sucks for right now, but it'll be better in the long run.
Yes, sir.
Something that seems like AEW is doing for the long run, they've been talking about it a little bit recently, is that they've been taping a lot to sell the content to a streaming service. I don't know if that's something they would be doing soon or within the first even couple of years. Is very interesting. It's a smart concept, I would say, not something I had really thought about, but seems to be what's being reported. What do you think of that, AJ?
That makes sense. I never really considered it until I read it. Yeah, I guess that would it would be beneficial for whatever streaming service they go with or whatever they do or whatever they're doing. If they're making, even if they make their own thing, then you have a lot of AEW content to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the perfect point too. If they do their own thing and maybe create like little docu-series or something like that, or there's a lot of cool stuff we've discussed that we would like to see them do that maybe they've been holding out a little bit just to do a series or do a streaming service type deal. So. Yeah, it seems like a good idea overall, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And something I'm definitely interested in, because I could see that being like a lucrative thing for AEW just to sell it to a platform. Like, imagine if they were both on Peacock.
Oh, those are two different. NBC isn't owned by Warner though, right?
Well, but at a point, they're with the streaming service. Like if they're looking to sell it to Netflix, if they're looking to sell it to whoever, I'm sure they could.
I would assume they would go, but I would assume it would be like HBO Max because that's under the Warner umbrella.
That makes sense, AJ. You got it. So something to keep an eye out for with AEW that we could definitely see coming down the line. Something else, and when I was reading about that, we've talked to Zevo about where will these house shows end up. Will they put them up on streaming or onto YouTube? I would think maybe they save those and hold them out for the streaming services. So that would be one major seller, I think, for someone like Zevo or even us that would want to tune in to those shows. The one way to get someone to pay for it is to have a couple of those. I would even encourage them to do a couple more in the meantime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it sounded like the first one went off very well, and so I feel like if they keep doing them, it'll just get positive reactions, and especially if they can start touring.
Yeah, I think, well, if they could start touring, but even still doing them in that local Jacksonville area, because it just creates something, with it being so small right now, because it's not like when WWE ran house shows and they were doing like 7 a week or however many. It was hard to keep track of. You wouldn't really even want to try and keep track of them. If AEW did 1 or 2 a month and it was something you would want to keep track of because it does add to the win-loss record, it does have some type of standing to championships and stuff like that, like it would make you very interested. So I would love to see them kind of expand on that, especially if they do plan to put them onto a streaming service down the line. And I really think that Tony Khan seems to be someone with the foresight to do something like that. So something to keep an eye out on.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think you have a good point.
And with those house shows, kind of continuing on with this whole conversation, Tony Khan, we had spoke about the house shows. He said he considered it more of like an ECW arena show where the hardcore fans would be looking to find out the results as soon as possible, but instead of it being like back in the day where you had slower internet, these results are now available within minutes of them occurring. And he wasn't wrong, because there were so many moments that happened during those house shows that made their way onto social media, and it wasn't even so much match results as it was specific moments that were just very crazy. I believe Darby gave away his skateboard. I'm sure Cody tossed his belt out into the crowd. Stuff of that nature was making its way online. So,
yeah, no, and I assume the 5-man tag boot was online, or it was on BTE anyways.
yeah, exactly. So I think that it's just really cool that they've been building up these house show events as something special as well. And so, and he's right in the sense of it was an event that we would like to see the results to. I kind of am in the same boat as Zevo in terms of I would love to see this show at this point, because that was Takeshita's first show, right? So,
Yep, I believe so.
So that in and of itself is something that I would like to see, because I'm pretty sure he was in a singles matchup on that show. So just something very interesting that I would like to tune into. And the fact that I don't remember who he faced, it makes me even more intrigued, because I know the result, but I don't know who he faced. So it just makes me interested in those shows. I think that they've done a good job at building up the house shows even as something people want to go to, with just one so far. Let's talk about this week's Dark Elevation. It was shorter. It was exactly what we've been talking about in the preference of Dark Elevation. It seems like Zevo has caught on to their schedule and the way that they're taping and putting these shows together, which it's confusing to me why they're doing it this way. Why they're having one week so much longer than the other week. And I guess it would make sense to an extent. You have more time to edit it down. You have more time to condense it, but yeah, I just don't understand why you're not putting one or two more matches on the second week.
It's very, very odd that, like, one is like what, an hour and a half, and the others can be 2 hours to 2 hours and a half. And just like it seems to be just that week by week. I don't understand the logic of doing it that way. I would way rather it be consistent. Whichever one you want to do, I would prefer hour and a half, but I would still just want it to be like a consistent time so I can know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, that's a great point too, just to know what you're getting yourself into, because it's almost like these shorter weeks now feel like a breath of fresh air. You're like, oh, this is so much better. Whereas the longer weeks, you're like, dang, this is still going on. And this week was definitely more condensed because the matches were just condensed. They might have even had the same amount of matches as last week. They were just much shorter, very much squash match after squash match after squash match, which was okay because you understand the nature of the show. You kind of get where they're going with it. And they still had other content to flesh out some of those squashes, I guess you would say.
Yes. And the main event was very good. Like there was also a few promos on here that were very good. There was stuff to like about this.
I like the feature they did on the Acclaimed, where they got to sit down with Paul White and talk about their characters a little bit, while also the nice thing with AEW too is they kept it real with the sense of like they weren't just bad guys, you know what I mean? Like
they were like real people.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
authentic.
It was very authentic to what they were. So, yeah, I really liked that. I liked that video package. I thought the Starks and Cage stuff. It's a weird beef at this point because this week Cage, and it almost seems to be what we were expecting when we talked about it last week, where those two seem to be on better terms. Cage kind of let Starks get the victory for the team. They seem to be better off now. They were both kind of happy. He was letting Starks do all of his poses. So maybe his plan is to be like, okay, Starks isn't the problem. Taz and Hobbs are the problem.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it's going, but it is a little weird, and I'm not sure if I like it, but I feel like I'll end up liking it. I like you said, it's just a little odd. I like, because like what, you both get detention at the same time and then become friends? Is that really the gimmick here?
That's how it goes. You explained it way better than I think it could have even been explained, but that's exactly how it goes. Like, that connected with me perfect. Like, yes, that's how it went, I think. And I don't know, we'll have to see it fleshed out a little more. I just like all of the guys in that group too much to have much criticism for it at this point. So with it just that alone is why I'm quite excited about what they've put together there. So. And the last bit I want to talk about was Danny Limelight in the main event. I thought it's interesting to see someone of his level right now in a match against Kenny, and you could tell he's trying to get his moments in almost. Like, it was never bad, but I was just like, yeah, I see where you're going, and it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. It wasn't. I was just like almost concerned for. Like, trying to take away too much from the other guys, from the Seidel brothers. Like, it was never like he was being even a negative partner, you know what I mean? Just a guy really taking his opportunity serious and trying to get it, and I can't be mad at him for it. But it did create a sense, and I was reading way too much into it. I will say that as well. Like, I was being way too critical of it and reading too much into it because of how much I've just read up on him over the last couple of weeks. And just because I want to see him do well in this moment, I was watching everything he was doing, and there was like a moment where Kenny is like trying to get in the face of Matt Sydal, and Danny's like trying to get in the face of Kenny, and it's like that's not really how the square up of everything was supposed to go. But it still was a great match. He looked great. He looks phenomenal. When he freaking smashed heads with Kenny in that, you know what I'm talking about? When he did the diving move to the outside, Kenny looked heated. But not in a bad way. It was like that's the moment of the match. But Kenny looked great. They looked great. So he looked amazing. And when he got, I think, past the initial segment of the match, because at the beginning of the match he's just kind of getting his ass kicked too, so I'm like, okay, I see why you took your entrance moment so serious to be a focal point and not necessarily, and that can be a good thing because he didn't just fall into the background of the Seidels. He was the forefront, maybe just to me, but I feel like he didn't allow himself to fall into the background of these two brothers. So
I did like Danny Limelight a lot. I loved him in this match, but Takeshita like blew me away. Like, he is so good. I don't remember who it was.
He's gonna be great to watch.
He murdered somebody with a lariat, and I was like, "Is that the end of the match?" Because like it makes sense to me that would have been the end of the match. He died.
I would love to see them give him and Danny another shot on Dynamite. You know what I mean? Let people see that. Give it the chance, give it the chance in the first 30 minutes, kind of like WCW used to with their light heavyweights, and not even because these guys are smaller talent, but just because they can go, and let them go for the first 30 minutes, and let that be the first 30 minutes of every Dynamite is just two guys getting a chance to go, and sometimes they're well known and sometimes they're not. These guys proved it last week for sure, but this week in a 6-man as well. So yeah, and like I said, Danny's stuff was never bad. It was just definitely a guy, and the more we talk about it, the more I'm almost glad he did it. Like, you're a guy who only gets opportunities like that so much. Thank you for not allowing yourself to fall into the background and just be an enhancement talent. He was another name of that match to me. So I thought that the Dark Elevation was really great this week. I didn't consume the whole thing. I did skip through some parts, but I do appreciate it for what it is, and I like that I understand the amount of content so much more now, taking into consideration the streaming service and stuff. I'm recognizing they, 100% don't anticipate everyone to watch everything, and 2, they have a purpose for it. It's not just like, let's have 1,000 shows and oversaturate our content. Like, there is a purpose for all of it. So they did a really good job with this week's Dark Elevation.
I agree. I thought I always like the 90-minute ones more, though, to be fair.
Me too. I think it's just a much easier portion of wrestling to consume. It's much shorter. You get a couple of new faces in there. You get a couple of faces you're used to seeing. I don't know if Hangman's been on every elevation, but he's been on a majority of them, I feel like. So
yeah, he's been on a lot of them.
It helps that as well. And I like that his gimmick is just to arrive, destroy, and like leave. And yeah, Kenny is too, and they really hyped that up with commentary. I thought it was strange the way that they did present it, where Kenny was like, I don't want to be there, and then commentary was like, you should want to be here. We want the champion here. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it, but it came off kind of goofy. So let's talk about Dark. Dark is on tonight, probably in the next couple hour and a half or so. We got my sleeper pick, Joey Janela, taking on Will All Day. What do you think, man? I don't know who Will All Day is. I
Me
looked him
neither.
up.
I was gonna say, what do you think? I think
I looked him up because every time it's a singles against Janela, I definitely give the enhancement talent
Sure.
the potential to pull off a victory,
Yep.
to be seen as somewhat of a serious character. Judging a book by its cover, because that's all I can do with Will, I didn't even get a chance to check out any highlights. Couple of pictures of him, his little 8x10s, looks like a cool character, could see him beating Janela. Couple other pictures, does not look like a cool character I could see beating Janela, so we'll see. But
I'm looking at him now.
I'm a big Janela fan, so that's why I picked this one. He's getting an opportunity in a singles competition. Hopefully he doesn't do another callback to his horrible kip up, because I'm good.
I don't think I want him to beat Janela, dude.
I didn't say I wanted him to. I said there's always a chance. So
There's a chance. I'm just saying I don't like the way this guy looks.
wow. See, and that's what I said. Judging a book by his cover, we got no idea what his work rate's like. Maybe he
Right.
carries Janela to like a 4-star match. Then we gotta love him, right?
But put up a picture of Will All Day right now, Andrew.
That's too much work, AJ. But we
Damn.
got Big Swole teaming up with Kylan King to take on Ashley and Steph MK. That's another match I'm interested in because I've become a bit more familiar with Kylan King. I think maybe it was even last week or the week before that I had mentioned I didn't know who that was, or she was in a match with someone else that I wasn't familiar with either one of them. I'm much more familiar with who she is, which makes me more interested in this. I did a piece for WrestleJoy that should be coming out tomorrow on Kylan, so I'm, again, just much more familiar with her and her story and how she's gotten into professional wrestling. She's still relatively new, only been in the business for about 3 years, trained with the Team 3D Wrestling Academy, kind of got her in at AEW through training there with Billy Gunn. And it wasn't a situation of her looking to get an in, but more Billy looking to bring her in. And she's just a bigger character. I've seen a lot on online talking about her versus Jade would be a very interesting match because they're just two very big women in terms of height, but
right.
But like still very attractive and still very good at wrestling. So that's where it becomes very interesting. Like just two very tall, larger than life women, I would say. So very interesting there. I like that she's teaming with Swole. She's been on a very big hot streak, kind of won 7 of her last 8. So someone to keep an eye on.
That sounds cool. I mean, I don't know much about her, but you sold me. I'm interested.
Yeah, so she's been on a bit of a run, definitely got some room to grow. AEW's done well with female talent like that, so I could see big things coming for her potentially in the near future, especially with them. Like I said, she's won 7 of the last 8. Looks like this will be 8 of the last 9. Been with them for about a year now, so yeah. And
I have a dark sleeper pick.
I know.
I do.
I see it. I like it.
It's Fuego del Sol, your boy, the master of the Tornado DDT,
The master.
versus Dante Martin of Top Flight. 2 high flyers, 2 cruiserweights, doing battle in the ring, doing flips and spots. And I like flips and spots, and some people don't. And if you don't, fuck you.
Yeah, there you go, dude. Hey, but I don't know. There's definitely a good portion of fans who don't love that, but I like this match. Fuck them. There we go. I like this match. It should be a lot of fun. I hope Fuego really gets an opportunity to shine here. This is a tough one because these guys are both not super green, but they work a different type of style that could go great or could go bad very, very quickly. So I hope they have a really great match. But Fuego, just even in his match with QT, when he went for actually the finishing spot where it was him diving and getting the cutter hit on him, just a moment that slipped where it's like you could see where it's like the training. The training, brother. It's the difference between that style that these guys have worked where they kind of started out in the backyard and have worked their way into independence, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you could see where that could fall apart. So that's where this match is very intriguing. I would bet that they tear the house down and prove me wrong, but there's just always the opportunity where things could go wrong because of that background. That's what we saw with his match with QT. I love Fuego. I think he's a great talent, but I think the honest part of it does come into play with you think about the training and the background. And he did receive formal training going forward, but when you start out in the backyard, it kind of rubs off into a different way. I don't know Dante Martin's exact background or how long he's been training for, but he's younger, and I don't know, maybe I'm just judging that style of wrestling. Maybe I'm judging the high flying. Maybe I'm one of the boomers now who's not big on the...
You're not a boomer.
I am, brother. So, yeah, that's our Dark Sleeper picks. I was looking at that match as one of my ones I was potentially excited for because I do like both talent. I think it could go either way, where it's one that really surprises everybody as a great match or has a couple of moments where you're just like, oh, man, these two guys are too good for this to be what happens with their opportunity. So I hope it goes great. Let's talk about BTE before we talk about Dynamite, because I know you have a couple of thoughts on the show. I think overall BTE was great, and that's why we kicked it off with that intro of them talking to Hangman, kind of referencing the Kenny and Young Bucks thing, because I really like that. I appreciate the idea of them, building more on this Kenny and Hangman thing and the Young Bucks being involved in that story as well. And what we have seen by watching BTE has given us a much bigger background on it. I think this was a great way to expand on that.
Yeah, I just thought one thing was weird. Like, and it was specifically because it was back to back. If it wasn't back to back, it would have been like, it's BTE.
It wasn't even back to back, dude.
It wasn't?
Highlights.
Are you sure?
There was highlights of them doing a bunch of wrestling in between.
I always skip the highlights though, so for me it was back to back.
Yeah, it wasn't back to back for real, but I get your point. Go ahead and make it anyway. Sorry.
It was like the Jacksons and Omega are at a meet and greet, and they're being like, "Oh, we're heels now. We fuck the fans," and they're doing all jokey jokes. Like they're not really heels. They're good guys. They're gonna give this meet and greet. They're
getting worked, dude.
And then like in the next segment, they're like telling Brandon Cutler to go fuck himself, and he sucks. And it's like, you can't trick me.
Give me a break. I loved that segment on Cutler too. They were killing it. Wait, I think I might even. I'll save it till the end. I got a little clip from that that I'm saving for the end of the show. But yeah, that was one of my. I like that segment a lot. I think Nick Jackson is amazing.
You're not tricking me.
Well, no shit, AJ, but come on, dude. Come on. Well, what do you expect? And what do you think? They're just going to heal it up for all their fans? Like,
yeah.
I don't see that happening, but
MJF does it.
MJF does it. Give me a break, dude. But yeah, I mean, I liked, because there was the stuff in between, I didn't think too much into that. I also didn't watch too much of the segment you're talking about where they were talking about meet and greet with fans. So I didn't have that to take much into it as well. So, but I do remember the segment where they were shitting on Cutler, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So
it was good.
They had a good BTE this week though, where they were able to expand a lot on the Dark Order stuff and also the Young Bucks stuff. So
did you see the QT Marshall and Billy Gunn thing that I told you about?
Yeah, I did. Where he punched him in the mouth.
He punched him so hard that Billy Gunn couldn't get up and retaliate. This old man went down.
He's a real boomer.
He went
right
down.
There. And that's where Kylan King needs to get involved and help her old trainer, I guess. But no, I thought that was really funny. QT dropping him because Billy Gunn just wasn't having it. I like that they've expanded a little bit, and QT gets to start off with the lower part of the Nightmare Factory now, or not the Nightmare Factory, the Nightmare Family. So I'm excited that he's starting off with Billy Gunn and the Sons. He'll be able to work his way up. This gives especially Solo and Camarado a lot more experience, a lot more television time for fans to become affiliated with them. So yeah, I like that. I like that building of that story on Elevation, and that can lead us right into Dynamite. QT versus Billy Gunn. Who you got, brother?
Dude, QT for sure. I don't want Billy Gunn to ruin my man's heat.
You don't got badass Billy Gunn coming out famous or 1, 2, 3.
I'm cool with him being in a match though, and I bet a lot of people aren't. I bet a lot of people are like, why is Billy Gunn on the card? Fuck you, it's fun.
To me, this just feels like the old men match. Like and I don't even think QT's that old, but his hair makes him look old. So
it does, yeah.
It's like the old guy match. But I don't dislike it either. I think he'll look probably really good against Billy Gunn, especially if he gets a chance to just kind of, and I always say about guys, but I just want to see him beat the shit out of Billy Gunn, and it'll legitimize him for me. And like if he was able to drop him, he dropped him with one punch, bro.
He did, but the size difference.
So why can't he do like 2 more? And then that's it.
I agree, in theory,
so
yes.
Maybe he does like 4 kidney shots and he wins, right? That's how
Anthony Ogogo. Oh, yeah.
So I think QT could do it in 4. That's all I'm saying. I think QT's definitely got this match. It could be a good match because I think Billy Gunn can make someone look good. We'll see if he could still do it at his age, but I feel like I think he can, especially because QT is as good as he is, and not to like overhype QT, but I think he's a pretty good talent, and up against someone like Billy Gunn, I'm sure he looks great. So this is the way they've been building up QT's heel heat. This should be good. And they should probably have some outside involvement with Camarado and them beating up the Gun Club and stuff. It should be good. They've done a really good job with all this stuff. Even Austin Gunn is someone that I'm becoming like almost. I faintly like this kid, and I did not love him early
I hate
on.
his stupid tattoos though.
I didn't love him early on, even in his early fan stuff at the top of the pandemic where he was the main fan guy. He's still the main fan guy, but I'm getting sold on him a little bit more. So. His
about his tattoos?
His brother, not so much. His tattoos are fine. It's not like he has a Cody Rhodes tattoo, dude. Calm
he
down.
has cowboys and their faces on his. I don't know who it is.
There's nothing wrong with cowboys, dude. Come on. Then we got Trent versus Penta El Cero Miedo. You know, it's gonna be a good match. Trent.
It's going to be a good match. It sucks that Penta's going to lose it because I want Penta to win it, but Penta's not going to win it because Trent just returned. And if Trent just returns, that means Trent's going to win because he needs to get his wins back.
It does suck that we're kind of I don't think we're getting that Cody Penta feud now, right? And that kind of got derailed. I don't even know why did that get derailed? There is a reason for it. I know somebody got injured or something happened where now we had to sort of fit Cody into a different story. I guess it feels like.
Yeah.
But it sucks that this is the circumstances nonetheless. I think it's a bummer that Penta doesn't, or maybe it's even the fact that Penta has to slot into this feud. But regardless of what's going on, I think he had to slot into that tag team title match. No, he didn't. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, AJ.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but it doesn't. We don't remember.
Yeah, it's okay. This singles match should be fun. Maybe Penta scores a victory here, though, is the main thing I want to get to, because when he went up against Cody, I was like, it sucks. He's got to lose this one. So maybe he gets the win over Trent here. And I don't know if it would be a clean victory, but I think he could still potentially. And that's me being a big Penta fan. But I like both of these guys. So this could be fun. This is fun for me regardless. Regardless of wins, I like it. But Penta's been on such a roll. Well, not even a roll, but almost on a roll, I guess I would say. Borderline. That I would have loved to have seen him get an opportunity to win this one. So we'll see. Two guys who have definitely been on a roll. Hangman Page taking on Ricky Starks. Both guys going into these with some win streaks going on. Hangman has an 11-match win streak, 7 of those being straight singles victories. Starks has 10 straight singles wins, and he's 9-1 in his last 10 overall. So that's impressive, no?
This is cool. I really, this is where the ranking systems actually become fun. Whenever you have stuff like this, as long as they point it out. If they don't point it out, then it's kind of...
This should lead to Ricky Starks versus Kenny Omega, is all I'm saying.
I agree. No, I disagree. It should lead to Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega.
It could, but it won't, because Ricky Starks is going to win. And then he's going to face Kenny Omega for the AEW championship, dude.
You used to be a Hangman boy with me.
I am a Hangman boy, but I'm Starks through and through on this one.
No.
Maybe Cage helps him.
Anymore.
Maybe Cage helps him.
You used to be a Hangman boy.
Maybe Kenny screws Hangman. Maybe the Young Bucks. I don't know. No, I think Hangman does win this one, but I'm not opposed to seeing Ricky win and get a title shot because of reasons like maybe Kenny legitimately does screw him, or he has the Good Brothers go out there and screw him. That would add a lot of intrigue, I think, because then you have the Young Bucks once again perplexed. They don't hate Hangman. Matt was just going to reunite with Hangman before he saw him with the Dark Order. So how would they feel if they essentially screwed him out of a championship opportunity? Now, this isn't a number one contenders match, but it should be for all intents and purposes, I would say.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. It's as far as the ranking systems goes, it should be a number one contender match because the person who wins just should be next in line. So, yeah.
I would love to see Tony Khan announce that prior to the show. And I don't anticipate it, but I think that would be a really cool way to just add importance to this match and to win-loss records. Holy crap, we should keep an eye on when someone's on a hot streak, because I didn't know that Starks was winning this much, especially in singles capacity.
How did you find this out?
Somebody put it there. They're hyping the match up with this, I think, but somebody put it in his notes, so that's how I got it. But it's not like I'm following it. But I think that
I just wanted to know, is Tony Khan aware? Does he care?
I think so. I don't think that this site is just keeping track of randomly Ricky Starks versus Hangman. I think they've hyped this up on TV or on the match announcement. So there's that, you know what I mean? Like, they're hyping this up. I would love to see it be announced like, hey, we recognize the importance of these two hot streaks, so it's a title match. Or because they announced the rankings on Wednesday morning, who knows? Maybe that's the plan. I would like to see that, though. And like I said, I didn't pay attention to the fact Starks was on 10 straight singles victories. Like, that's impressive.
You reminded me of something, so that
What's
later
up?
when you say, did we forget anything, I'll tell you, because let's just keep going through the card, because
All right,
it's kind of
sounds
its own
good, dude.
thing.
Sounds good. We got Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Christian Cage. This one's another interesting one because Christian's supposed to be able to outwork everybody in a match against someone like Hobbs, who we still are not super acquainted with. This could turn a lot of heads with Hobbs just getting a chance to really dominate for a majority of the match.
That would be
Christian
great.
with the hot comeback overcomes the odds, beating this very, very strong guy. And who knows,
Or-
maybe Hobbs has his guys
or-
in his corner.
Or maybe
Cage and
Hobbs,
Cage team up.
Christian Cage bites off more than he can chew and underestimates Powerhouse Hobbs.
No.
And Powerhouse Hobbs gets the win over the veteran.
See, that's the one thing I don't anticipate in this match at all. I would like to see it, but even I, in my far-fetched ideas on AEW, sometimes can limit myself on that one, where I'm like, Christian's not losing to one of these young guys for a minute. He's going to get his title shot at least
Yeah,
first.
you're right.
But and it's weird if they're building that to the pay-per-view title match, but that's neither here nor there.
But I wanted to play devil's advocate, you see.
Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't be mad against seeing that at all. I think that we could see Cage, Brian Cage, that is, potentially get involved in this match and maybe cost Hobbs either intentionally or unintentionally, or maybe we again see Team Taz sort of barred from ringside. Whatever the story is here, I do kind of think we're going to get a continuation of a story here. I think Cage's first real feud is with these guys, and that makes sense, regardless whether it's just Hobbs or the entirety of Team Taz, and they sort of come together and recognize Christian to be their main problem. But yeah, it's a really interesting match for the fact that I'm a huge Hobbs fan. He's impressed us multiple times, so
Yeah. You know what? I actually can say the thing I remembered, because the next three matches we're going through, it all works out. There was a Road to Dynamite, and on that Road to was a promo package featuring Powerhouse Hobbs and Christian Cage, and the gist of that is Powerhouse Hobbs is disrespected because he says if you attack one of our, if you disrespect one of the clique, then you're gonna mess you up, and he just kind of laid in on Christian that he's an old man, that he saw fear in his eyes, and like he really comes off like a monster, and I like it.
Yeah, I like that. I like all that from Hobbs. So hopefully they give us a little bit of that on Dynamite. That's typically what they do. They'll give you the full thing on Road 2 and maybe a little bit on Dynamite. So hopefully they have time for it. But they do have some important matches lined up on the rest of the show. So we got Hikaru Shida taking on Tay Conti for the Women's Championship. Very excited for this one. This was one I wouldn't have been mad to see pushed off to the pay-per-view, and would actually love to see have some type of non-clean finish that can push it off to the pay-per-view, even if that means it comes down to a triple threat or something. Regardless, I think whoever wins the title in this match is set to face Britt Baker, who is earning her way to that spot. No?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it has to, I think Hikaru Shida, as you've seen in my Discord, is the women's ace of the company. And with that said, her what sold me on this was her Road to promo, where she was like, you're pretty, you're athletic, you're great, you could be the champion, but not fucking now, because I'm the champion. And I was just like, this is base. This is great. Hikaru Shida rules. She's the champ. She made this division. Like, she carried it on her back in its darkest time, and she did a good ass job. I'm so fucking doubled down on Hikaru Shida. I love Tay Conti. Don't get me wrong. Tay Conti rules. It's going to be a great match. And if she wins, I'm not going to be mad. I will be a little mad, actually, because I really want to see Hikaru Shida, like, the biggest face in the women's division versus Britt Baker, the biggest heel in the women's division. I want to see that clash.
Yeah, I will give you that. I would like to see that clash. I won't be mad at them if they put the title on Ty, though, because she's the fresh knew really like
Pull the trigger. I get
really,
it.
really like, yeah, and where you wouldn't be mad at them for pulling the trigger, but I've seen them not so many times that I would prefer them not to, and that's almost where I think they might, where I think because so many times with Hangman, MJF, different guys, they've waited, they haven't pulled the trigger. Sometimes you do, sometimes they just take that opportunity, and I think this could be the chance where they take the opportunity to really make Ty into something really, really big, really, really quick. And I wouldn't be mad at it because it has gotten over.
Yeah.
It has really connected. And it wouldn't be bad to take the title off of Hikaru at this point because we've thought so many times she was going to drop the belt and she didn't. So many times we're like, this is the time. Oh, Nyla's going to win the belt. Oh, this, that. Oh, and she's just kept the title. So if she drops it to Ty, it doesn't feel early at all. She obviously is the most dominant women's champion, has had the best matches. Everything about it has been the best, where I wouldn't be mad at it. But I think it just makes the most sense for Hikaru to win. So even as the Ty Conti guy of the show, I am against her. I have to cheer against her for the sake of just how I've seen it work out better for Hangman, seen it work out better for MJF to get that chance and lose. It's almost been better for some of these bigger talent or these growing talent within AEW's roster to lose that title match rather than to win the title match and go on as champion, because the natural progression of the story just feels less impactful when they win it. It's kind of like, oh, the story's over, and then you can't really rebuild that first title win story. So that's where AEW has gone so right with these options that I don't see her winning. I'm not against her winning though, so it kind of sits on that same realm of view where I wouldn't be mad, but I would be a little mad, but for probably different reasons, because I just think there's more to her longevity if you wait right here. I feel like her winning almost feels like the only way to make it last and feel great is for her to turn heel, because she's a great talent, but she's not Hikaru Shida. She's not having those level of matches, and you lose a compelling story after she wins the belt. Like, there's less of a reason to cheer for her if she's not having great matches. So I think Hikaru wins, sets up for her versus Britt. They've built up Britt as the next viable contender so well. Ty has been an amazing stopgap where this is the storyline. This is the filler storyline, honestly, but it's been great that you don't feel like it's that. You know what I mean? It's been the stopgap, kind of the same way that the Pinnacle versus Inner Circle is also a stopgap between the pay-per-view and now. So this is a great match. It's one I'm really excited for. I'm glad we're getting it now.
This is a great card so far. I just want to put that out there.
We knew it last week. We talked about it last week, but it is a great card, and they did a great job putting it together. I was almost, I don't want to say bitter, but I was bummed that Ty didn't get this match on the pay-per-view. But now that I think about it, I'm glad that she didn't, because she's not going to lose on the pay-per-view, and it just feels more natural for her to lose at this point. So, and that's where I'll be wrong. That's where she'll win, and I'll still be hyped because she's my girl. So we got that. And we're not done talking about title matches on this week's episode, because Darby Allin will be taking on Jungle Boy, of all people. Really cool match. I think they set it up perfectly. It did make the rankings matter once again by him tweeting out, hey, Tony Khan, give me anyone in the top 5 and I'll defend the title against him. And you kind of knew immediately it was going to be Jungle Boy, because Hangman's doing his own thing. Mox isn't going to fight Darby right now, even though that would have been pretty neat. And I think a couple other guys had either just faced Darby or wouldn't face Darby right now. So it made most sense for it to be Jungle Boy. These two will also probably have a great match. And yeah.
This was another one they featured on Road 2 where Jungle Boy was... It was just Jungle Boy, though, no Darby. So I expect we're going to get a Darby promo on Dynamite. But Jungle Boy was kind of saying, like, I'm not going to make this grand promise that I'm going to come out as champion like I did last time against Cody, but I'm going to fucking fight as hard as I can, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen, because at the end of the day, I came here to win championships, and I want to win. And he goes on to also talk about how, like you said, the records matter, how his record was so bad before. Like in 2020, and when AEW started, it was like we were talking about it all the time. Jungle Boy always loses, and now he talks about how he's been like undefeated for such and such amount of matches, and how
Which
well
I did
he's
not
been doing.
know, to be totally honest. Like,
I mean, neither.
And I'm glad that they at least highlight that, and that's where the win-loss records do help. Like, I get people's criticism of them from time to time, but at the end of the day, I appreciate the things that it does help. That I really don't get too locked into the issues I have with it. because
Yeah.
it helps just explain stories where I'm like, I haven't kept track of how much he's won and lost, but the record's there, and I know at least at this point they haven't done like fake record stuff. They haven't skewed with people's stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. You just know, oh wow, he really has won 10 matches, regardless of who it's been against. Like, you have to give some credence to that. So for that, I'm excited about this match. I think they've done a good job at. And who knows? Maybe they pulled the trigger with Jungle Boy, and I wouldn't be super mad at it. It would be kind of weird to me because I don't feel like he's become a big deal to this point. But I also feel like him losing this title match, another TNT title match, it almost hurts him a little bit. Whereas with Ty, losing doesn't feel like anything bad can happen with it. With him, I feel like he's gotten another opportunity, come up short. To me, yes, he's apparently on a win-loss record, but to me it does, or a win record. But I haven't really felt that with him.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I fully expect Darby to win, or I hope Darby would win. I don't think it's Jungle Boy's time right now.
because you're a Darby mark, dude.
I am a Darby mark, and I'm fine with that. But I really do genuinely think like Darby Allin still has more left in this run.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that it's been, again, kind of the same token of Hikaru. Like, Darby's had a solid run. Jungle Boy, I wouldn't be mad at them pulling the trigger now.
Exactly. No, I agree.
It would be kind of questionable with him being in a stable that doesn't seem like it would. It just seems weird for him to be the champion with that stable right now. I feel like, and then that's where his entire group feels strange to me. But maybe this elevates them. Maybe this elevates the entire group. Maybe it elevates him more as a singles guy, and then Luchasaurus and Marco can do more tag team stuff because he's now TNT champion. I don't know what could happen. I don't want to see a transition, like a quick Jungle Boy wins and then maybe drops it in a couple weeks, but I also wouldn't. I don't know if I'd hate that either because
yeah, that's a good point.
As a fan of wrestling, you like to see titles move a little bit, right? You don't want to see every title move all the time, and that's I'm not mad. I'm not really pushing for it because I'm not clamoring for a championship to move. But a championship, when was the last time a title moved? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And that's not a bad thing. You appreciate that. I want to say it's probably when Kenny won the title, which is kind of within the perfect time frame to move a belt right now, where I don't see it happening on tomorrow night's show, but I wouldn't be mad at it. That's for sure.
No, you're right. You're dead on it. Like, there's two options here to pull the trigger on two different people, and if they do, I'm not going to be pissed. I'm going to be like, okay, we're going with this guy.
Because you know that they would have a plan for either one of them regardless, and especially if they're going to put the title on them, and they have done what they could to elevate them. And who knows? Darby choosing this Jungle Boy match, it's been a very interesting thing. It was a cool spin on the Open Challenge too, because he's been sort of facing talent that wasn't as credible. Now we're getting a very credible opponent. So
yeah,
I do feel like Jungle Boy is on that lower end of credibility though, and I feel bad for it because he's my guy. He's been someone we've been behind for so long, and maybe that's why I take his losses more personally or something, where I just haven't felt him overcome it. I wish I had the same feeling for him as I've had with Ty over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I mean, he had that cool match with Dash, right? That's who it was with, I think.
Yes.
Dash. So he's had some cool
matches. Or
matches.
was it Dax? I don't know.
I don't know either. But one of those guys, he had a great match with them. And that's the problem with their names. So, but yeah, I think that he's had a pretty decent run. I wouldn't be too surprised to see him win the title. Maybe even Darby gets it back because it was like, oh my God, I wasn't prepared for Jungle Boy or something. I don't know. I'm trying too hard to sell myself on the idea that Jungle Boy could win. I think that one's pretty much a dead giveaway, and more so a Tay Conti victory could be in the cards. But
more likely to me, yeah.
But who knows? I think the most likely scenario, of course, is that both champions retain. But I think the guarantee for this week, regardless, is it's going to be an incredible show.
Absolutely.
I think coming off of 1.2 million, knowing that they had that many people tuned in last week, so no guarantee this week. You know, they've definitely seen that happen where they had that big number to begin with and it dwindled down a little bit.
Yep.
Could happen again, but also last week it was a steady number. It's not like they opened with 1.5 and it dwindled down to 1 by the end of the show. They kept around 1.1 throughout the whole show. The big moments pulled in more. The lower moments lost a little bit, of course. So that's how you would expect it. And I think that's how it goes again this week. And with a great card, you build on top of that. Like, you have a freaking amazing show, which looks very credible, like possible. The worst match on the card is QT versus Billy Gunn, and that has storyline purpose
Yeah.
to it. So there's nothing to be upset about. You can almost call this one of the best Dynamites of all time before even seeing the Dynamite, just based off the card. I don't feel weird saying that at all because it's such a great card. Two title
It is a great
matches.
card. I don't know if I would go that far, but you're right. It is a great card.
Why not? Why not? You know, like the thing, it has like a legend in Christian. It has Hangman taking on Starks.
You're
two
not
young
wrong.
names
I'm just saying,
on,
like, I don't know.
on victory streaks. It has Trent,
Okay,
someone very
here's why.
favorable within
Here's
management. Penta favorable to us. Like,
Here's why. I don't want to hype myself up that much, and then it's like it's not like my expectations are too high. I'd rather be like, I hope it's a good Dynamite and be blown away by a great Dynamite.
you're right, but I think that there's just too much on this card to even give it the opportunity to say that. For me, and that's where I could definitely be let down. I like your perspective on it. I think you're thinking about it in a very healthy way, a very smart way. I have just super high expectations for this card, and I'm like, it has no branding to it. Like, there's no pay-per-view name to it. It's not St. Patrick's Day special. It's not anything crazy, but there's just so much greatness. If they allow Darby and Jungle Boy, Hikaru and Tai, and Hangman and Starks to get like 10 to 15 minutes each, even longer if possible, which I get is half of the show, literally half the show if you give all three of them 20 minutes. But give them the time, and this is going to be the best card we've seen on television this year. Like, I just don't see how that could be out of the question. So, you're right, though. I'm overhyping it, but there's just so much on this that it's worth overhyping because this card
I'm glad
is
you're
fantastic.
excited for it, though, because, like, that makes me excited.
This is a perfect card. They've done a great job at building up so many talent on this
You're
card.
right.
Me thinking about the Jungle Boy singles match that he had with Dax, Cash, whatever FTR guy it was, like, that has me hyped about that match. Hobbs versus Christian, I'm not even super sold on that one, but I am because of the story. Starks versus Hangman is really all I needed. So for those three matches, I'm super sold on it. They've done a great job at just building up a lot of other talent and guys like QT and Trent and stuff that I'm not big on, but they've built them up that I do recognize their importance. So, yeah. It's a great Dynamite. I think that it could be one of the best ones that they put on this year for sure, and of all time without, I don't say it without much hesitation. So I'll be excited to see the rating and stuff coming out of it.
Me too.
We're not going to hang too heavy on the ratings, but if they can maintain that 1.2 or even push it up a little bit, it will be super impressive. So it's worth giving the credit where it's due there.
Absolutely, it will.
So, yeah, great card, and that's the cool thing too is this card is so much better than last week's that if they can get the same people tuned in last week, I'm confident that they will just always have those 1.2 million tuned in from now until they ever get competition at the very least. So, looking good for AEW. They've got an amazing card. One of the cards that I've been most excited about in a long time that they've released early, and I've appreciated that fact from AEW for a long time too. So. Yep, very excited for Dynamite tomorrow. Excited to check out the show. AJ, you said we might have something to remember, but that was Road 2, so...
Yeah, kind of covered it with the 3 matches, because it was Road 2, but it only covered 3 matches.
I'm still confident that we will probably miss something where one of our good brothers, Zevo or Johnny D, might have caught it for us, and that's where having the guests is fun. But, every week we like to switch it up a little bit, so we will be back on Thursday. I believe this is a Johnny D week, though, right?
Yes, it is. It's a Johnny D week.
So Johnny D will be with us on Thursday. Then next Tuesday, Zevo will be back with us on the pod, as long as he's got the time. I think we've already discussed that with him, though. So, yeah, he'll be back next week. We will be back on Thursday to discuss this week's Dynamite. Hopefully it is as exciting as I'm anticipating and more. I'm pretty confident in it. I won't come in too bitter, though, if it's totally garbage, but I just do not see how that's possible with this card. So it's going to be a great show. AJ, plug your social media, and we will get out of here.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at TooSweetElite. You can follow me on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. Follow the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. You can find us on Twitter at AllElitePodcast. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you leave us a review there. We would super appreciate that. If you do leave us a review there, send us a tweet letting us know. We've got some stuff we could give away. I would be glad to do something. We got like some Funkos. We got some figs. So I've got some stuff I'll be down to send. That would be really cool. So just go leave us a review on Apple Pod and let us know. Outside of that, We appreciate everybody tuning in to the podcast. As always, this has been Too Sweet Elite. We'll be back on Thursday. See ya.
Bye.
By the way. Wait, you getting a call? Oh, yeah. It's coming. Who is that?